Okay, so let's look at, let's just do a quick review of why we do value stream mapping and then talk about the generic value stream. Now, the reason we do value stream mapping is we mentioned a few of them. One thing I hadn't totally talked about, though, is how systems are actually more about the relationships between the components. We've talked about this. We're not trying to get each individual piece working optimally. That would be if it was a totally component. It's how they interrelate. It's all of these tied together gives us this insight. It's about the relationships between the components, not just the components. Value streams highlight these relationships. Upstream has a great effect, like the way executives do things will affect the development teams. We want to start thinking in terms of flow. It's less disruptive to expand functionally as well. When you get a value stream going, you can expand into larger companies with this, which is quite useful. So, you see where your problems are, use the mapping process to increase collaboration. You can get an holistic view. Now, so we've got this established. So I love value streams. I was using them in 2006 explicitly. In the 80s, I was using the customer value stream without a name for it, but the customer journey. And what happened is, as the Agile spread to larger and larger organizations, around 2012, I guess it was maybe 11, I found that I couldn't get the time I needed. Might have been a couple of years later, but I couldn't get the time I needed to do good value stream mapping. I couldn't there were multiple value streams. So I had all these people, all these roles, and I had come up with a way where I didn't need everybody involved. What I would do is I'd get at least one person from each representative value stream. I'd get one person from each role that made this matrix. I'd get maybe 20 people in when I really needed 60 or 80, and I needed 4 days, and they'd give me 4 hours. And what happened is, besides all that being bad, is people say, oh, we don't have any waste. We're doing Scrum. I literally heard that so many times, and I knew that wasn't right. I talked to the teams, and I'd see what the problems were there. So I actually stopped using value stream mapping after having amazing success with it. And I really regretted this. I mean, it was like my favorite tool. I couldn't use it anymore. And then I was at an open space in San Diego. And the nice thing about open spaces is as long as you don't do anything illegal or tell somebody to do illegal, and as long as you tell them what you're going to do, you can do whatever you want to. They may not show up. But I had this idea because I'd noticed something years before that I talked about some of our other consultants, and they had noticed it as well, that if you took 10 companies, more or less doing the same, they could be different. They could be like an IT mostly, they could be a product, they could be different things, but more or less, that 80% of a group of companies would be doing about 80% of their stuff the same way. Now, if you had hardware, if you had like FDA regulation, okay, those were added on things, and there are a lot of those. But if you just talk about building products, 80% of the companies are doing the same thing. I saw this over and over and over again. Here was an example that really nailed it for me. I went into one company and I did my 2-week, I had this thing, it was pretty much a package way. I did it for a company that was like anywhere from 1 to 400 people in the dev group. So I'd go in, I'd do some analysis, we'd chat, we figure out what we want. I think this time it was these side companies about a week. And then I would give them a presentation and interacting with them, and they would say, oh, this is great. And they'd be happy and we'd go off. Sometimes I'd keep helping them. Sometimes they take that as an improvement backlog and do it themselves. More often than not, I kept working with them. But I remember this period of about 2 or 3 months where I did one company, I wrote this presentation, combination of Word and PowerPoint. And then a week went by and I go into another company, different. Like the first one was a product company. Second one was just pure IT company. And what was weird is I noticed as I was writing it up for the second company, about, 3/4 of what I'd written up, I could use for this second one. So I obviously copied the documents, took out all the names, made the modifications, and it saved me some time. That was great. Third company go into a week or 2 later. Now this company was different. This wasn't the product company like a product a customer would use. It was like an internal HR type product. So the first one was a product used by end users. Second one was an enabling, rather, second one was IT, third one was enabling. Same thing happened. The second write-up, 3/4 of it was good for the third. And I thought, this is really interesting. And that's when I noticed that most companies ending up going to the same place. Now, what's different is where they are. They are quite different. So the path to get to where they are is different, but where you want to go is not that different. And again, if you have hardware, some sort of regulation like insurance, FDA, whatever, then you've got extra constraints. But I noticed this, and I was at this San Diego open space, and it occurred to me, I noticed this. I was using this. What experience did you need for you to, did a person need to understand it? Could a practitioner who had no agile experience understand this? Could a practitioner with heavy experience understand this? What about somebody who is a consultant? Well, I'm at an open space. You got all sorts of people there. So I got this idea to show them what I'm about to show you, and I've modified it, made it a little better. And the beauty of it was they loved it. They got it. And I ran 4 sessions that day. And then I tried it at clients and everyone got it. So I'm going to show you this. I call it the generic value stream because it's this generic way of looking at the value stream. Okay, but before I get into that, I want to show you something else. Why some things I'd already thought about that actually relate to this. So the way I look at organizations is there's a strategy and budgeting part. There's a portfolio management. There's an implementation, delivery, support. This is where the development's done. The ecosystem, in a sense, should be, I'm going to change this to where I have the strategy like a circle would be better. I have a strategy and budgeting, portfolio management, like these 3 make a circle and this is in the middle, but I don't have that drawing capability yet. But this is the idea. This is one component of the system of the company, another one, and these guys manage the ecosystem as we've been talking about. And I've got these parts and the arrows show that there's these relationships between these. In fact, I detailed these a little bit. By the way, these slides will be available. There's the strategy creates the context. That's what's kind of important. Portfolio management also creates context. These 2 interrelate to each other. These people are saying we're going to do this within the context of the strategy. Management's role is to get all of this working together. There's a article written by Nonaka, one of the 2 authors of the new product development game, which was written in '86 that inspired Scrum. I find it amazing that 2 years later, he wrote another article called Towards Middle Up Down Management. The idea is the middle layer looks up to see what the goals are, and then looks not up at to and down at, but rather the value stream. And this article talks about management, lean management, all that. I've never heard anybody in the agile space that is about Scrum relating to this. They kind of move the management down into the Scrum Master role. It's a really big problem in my mind. So but anyway, we have the strategy and budget. We have the portfolio management. We have implementation, delivery, and support. We have this management in the background. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't quite a value stream. Remember, these guys aren't part of the development value stream. They create the context for all these. But what if we made it look like a value stream? What if we made it look like this? What if we had strategy and budgeting, portfolio management, implementation, delivery, and support? I'm trying to add a little bit of detail here. It's not that great drawing, but you get the idea. And this is what I did, is I would put things up on the board and say, well, we got to figure this out. We got to figure this out. We got to do all this. Notice this isn't quite a value stream. What I really need is a customer up here pointing to this and then going back to the customer to show the whole thing. And yeah, I probably did that. But then I did something else. I said, okay, you get this. And actually people would get this as a a general purpose way of doing things. And I'd say, what are your problems? Oh, you're not properly prioritized what we're going to work on. Chunks of work are too big. Working on too many things, unclear. You got these probably look a little familiar. And they would put down their problems. Now, what I would do when I go into a client, I'd do the same thing. I would draw this out. I would make sure I never used a red marker because I'm going to put red in. And then I would just ask them where are their problems. Now, have I done value stream mapping? Absolutely not. Have I identified where in the value stream a lot of their problems are? Yeah. Do I need to do detailed value stream mapping in some of these? Yeah. That's why I call this a Pareto analysis. I can get a lot of value just by doing this very simple analysis. And I could do it with very large organizations in a fraction of the time it would take to do otherwise. Okay, so a review, it's really a Pareto analysis of the value stream. It identifies areas I can then drill in that I need more of. I can go deeper when needed. It's a great way to kick things off because it takes very little time. You get everybody, this is how I kick things off. is I get as high up as I can get down to the team level. I don't get everybody. If the company's not too big, I could get everybody. But I've done this with like companies 200-300 in development. I'll get 20-30 managers and team leads, and the collaboration is amazing. And people start seeing where there are different problems that they didn't realize they had before. And this is really, really an important thing. Okay.